everybody. Welcome to the County Seat today. I'm your host, Chad Booth. Today we're going to take a look at economic development. Now, we all have a pretty good idea of what economic development is. It's kind of this general picture of prosperity and new business and new industry and a wealth of jobs, and that's economic development. But what does it look like in rural Utah? It is so specialized, in fact, that the governor's office has created an entire program through the Governor's Office of Economic Development to specialize on helping rural communities meet those special needs to put them in place for real and substantial economic growth. The benefits of it are potentially statewide, maybe even worldwide in their impact, but it all starts at the local level. We're going to start our program today with kind of an overview of what rural economic development might look like.
Businesses serve their communities in many ways. They produce goods and services for people, provide careers, contribute to the tax base, and foster a foundation where people can build their lives.
Burns is a 143-year-old family-owned business. My great-great-grandfather started in 1876. Always has been in Utah. Great-great-grandfather started over in Loa, Utah, and then they moved the building on logs, rolled it over the big mountain from Loa to Salina in 1898.
If communities are going to keep and attract businesses like Burns Saddlery, they need to provide customers for them to survive and grow. So the challenge becomes finding a balance of having enough opportunities available so that a community doesn't dry up and blow away, along with companies like Burns. Economic development is the fulcrum that keeps those two forces in balance.
You hopefully get to know the community leaders, the stakeholders, you work with businesses, and you start to get a feel for what's right for the community. But for the most part, we are trying to work with existing industries and business. Those are the people who believe in us. Those are the people who have already invested there.
Access to water, energy, and transportation can also impact what can grow in the community.
So there's just a lot of things that businesses have to be successful. In rural areas, we have to build the infrastructure that we can. So for example, in our area, we have great education. We have an amazing telecommunication company that makes it possible for people to live there and work anywhere in the world.
Burns is just one of those success stories, as they have worked to stay ahead of the curve without losing sight of their heritage.
We went back to our roots, what we knew, what was real, what was authentic. When online shopping became such a relevant component to the retail sector, we decided to take our 10,000 square foot store and take it totally back to manufacturing. And that way we started to bring in a small team, and we've just added to that and added to that. And I smile at where it's going because we have a scalable, good plan for it.
Many rural communities have been hard at work creating new momentum, but they aren't alone in that quest. The state of Utah has also come to the table with programs to incentivize investment in Utah's rural economies across the state.
It's a huge deal. In providing those jobs, those two jobs that we brought, it's enabled people, the two people, to live here in the place that they want to live in this small community.
While two jobs seems insignificant to any community along the Wasatch Front, in Hanksville, with a population of around 200, it's a big deal. And with the array of programs that are available to counties and businesses to spur new growth from the state, Utah's rural communities have a fighting chance to ride the wave of growth heading to Utah. For the County Seat, I'm Derek Dowsett.
So if you watch this story and you think, gosh, how do I get into something like that? Because I've got a good idea and I live rurally. You stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll introduce you to our panel of experts and we will delve into the real nitty-gritty of how economic development works and how you can play in it in Utah.
In a place that is beyond words, there is nothing to be said,
accept. Take your time in Bryce Canyon country.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own Discover Local Food.
There are meetings, and then there are gatherings. At the Davis Conference Center, we know the difference. Turn your event into something more than just another business summit. With over 70,000 square feet of flexible meeting space, state-of-the-art presentation amenities, and inspiring architecture, the Davis Conference Center is designed to deliver stellar results in a majestic setting. Take your convention to the next level. Schedule now at davisconferencecenter.com.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are joined today by three people who have good background in economic development. We have the Economic Development Director of San Juan County, Natalie Randall. Thank you for a long drive to our studios. We have Linda Gilmore, who is from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. She is the Rural Program Director for, I didn't quite say that title right.
It's the Office of Rural Development.
The Office of Rural Development. And we have somebody at the other end of the pipeline. We have Braden Shaw, who is a sixth-generation owner of Burns 1896, and he's wearing his product on his head. Show us your fine hat for a second, Braden. So it's part of the Burns saddlery family, as people may know more commonly. So thank you all for taking the time to join us. I would like to find out or start with how we start this process of developing state programs that work in local communities. Is this mandates from the state? How does that process evolve? Because I know Uintah County and San Juan County are going to have very different needs.
Things. They do have different needs. There are some commonalities. One of those commonalities is that growth in rural communities is most likely going to happen from existing companies. So like Burns Saddlery, they've been there for generations. They have ties to that community, to the land, and so they have a vested interest in that community. But there are differences. The governor asked all the counties to come up with a strategic economic development plan, which they have, and each one's a little bit different. It's unique. Their culture's different, their history is different, and so the way they do economic development is going to be unique as well.
So, Natalie, what's the population of San Juan County?
Around 15,000.
Okay, so we're in a county with 15,000. You've just been put in the position of Economic Development Director, and now you have to come up with a strategic plan. How did that work out?
The positive thing about that is I was with Monticello City prior to starting with San Juan County, so had a little bit of a perspective from the northern end of the county. So that was a really great thing. But we had great commissioners that really wanted to start driving economic development in our region. We had a few other industries that we'd been focused on, and we thought there was a really need to diversify the economy.
But I knew all those commissioners that were in at the time you started this, and they didn't really have an economic background, and so you obviously needed some additional resources, I guess, to pull that plan together. Where did you go for that?
So we had a lot of resources sitting on our bookshelves. So we went through, we had things that we'd done with Better Cities. We had done an area sector process analysis, or ASAP process, that we had gone through for industries. The county had multiple general plans. Each city had a general plan. And so our office pretty much took all of those different documents and consolidated it into one strategic plan.
And then you work to implement it at the state level with Linda's office?
Yeah, with Linda's office. So we, just as Linda said, the governor put out an initiative, 25,000 jobs by 2020. So the way that we initiated that process was in our strategic plan. We created that. We had 5 key elements of focus. So we focused in on broadband, transportation, diversification of the workforce and economy, business expansion and retention, and then celebration of culture and heritage. We brought together a team of different people that had a kind of a hand in economic development in our region, and then we had a meeting set up like each rural county did with the governor and his staff, and we could request additional GOED staff to be at the table as well. And that's how that process kind of evolved, and it's been moving since then.
Well, she did a superb job, and you can tell that she's been living this plan ever since. It isn't something that went on the shelf. And so when she's come back and applied for the community grant programs that we have, like the BEAR program is what we call it, for business expansion and retention, she has connected that to the plan. So the plan kind of gave her marching orders that everybody in the community had agreed upon and support, and she's been very successful because of that plan, and then going out and looking for resources to implement.
So let me ask a question, because we have a fast tracker at the table, which is one of the programs, and you have several programs, and they're constantly evolving as far as that goes.
They are.
But it looks like some of them are targeted for counties and communities, and they're programs specifically to help Natalie's end of the economic development picture, and then there are also programs that are available to businesses within communities.
Yes.
So is that your job to coordinate those and make sure they dovetail?
Well, what our job is to help people find the right program, in that we, up until this last legislative session, we had 8 programs, which can get complicated. We have a book that we publish that's about the same size as the Millard County phone book, and so it's a little complicated. So we do have someone in our office that you can connect with, and you can get them. We have an email specifically for this. It's GOED rural programs at utah.gov. So you connect with this person, they set up an appointment, and some people come and they say, I think I need a rural fast track, because that's the only program they know. But when they get done, we may refer them to another state agency for one of their programs, or we might recommend that they try something like the Enterprise Zone, depending on their need, when they're going to invest. So we're not only providing the programs, but hopefully the customer service that helps them be successful.
To make the best decision.
Right.
Your bottom line is to get growth in rural Utah.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, I'm going to pick on Braden for a minute and just talk about the consumer end of these programs when we come back on the county seat. We'll be right back.
Mountains to explore. Adventure to be had. A town to fall in love with. Yes, all that in Park City, Utah. Start your adventure at visitparkcity.com.
All the traveling that I've done over the world, I'd still rate this locale as being one of the best.
This is some of the most scenic country out there. And part of the appeal for Kanab is it's a small town. It's beautiful. People are very friendly.
It's just been awe-inspiring.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking today about economic development in rural Utah, and we've so far taken a look at some of the programs the state has to offer, how it fits into the picture, and how counties and local communities can participate in it. But I want to turn my attention to you. Give me a little history. I mean, we learned a little bit about your company in our story, but your history of the point where you started to engage with the Office of Economic, or the Governor's Office of Economic Development, to help you move to the next level.
Sure. As it was mentioned, we fall in that category of one of those rural companies that want to see growth and expansion and really care about our rural community and want to create jobs and sustainable income and a way to keep some of the children there and provide a good living. And as we were looking at expanding into custom-made footwear, we looked at a lot of different options, and we came across the Rural Fast Track Grant. And it was pretty slick. I logged online, filled out the application, and the next day Nan from the local office had called me, and then Malcolm and Nan made an on-site visit. We filled out some paperwork. They determined which entity would be best, which grant would be best for us to apply. We applied and got it approved really quickly, and we're able to buy equipment to help us start this boot shop, which has now brought 6 new families into our area and employed 6 new people, and with plans to grow.
Now, 6 jobs, as I've said often, doesn't sound like very much if you're in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
But I would imagine if you're in Salina or another small community, that's a big boost. So, did you at any time reach that dilemma of saying, you know, we've got a successful business, we've proven it through several generations, we want to go to the next level, and you were afraid you were going to have to move to be able to accommodate it?
Sure, that has been a conversation of ours, but one of our core values is to take and help these young ranch kids in our community to learn a new skill and be able to stay in our community. We feel a higher calling to be able to help our community and provide jobs and just to be a positive, make a positive impact on the community. So when we were planning this custom boot shop, most boot shops are in Texas. And it would have been less expensive to move a boot shop or purchase an existing boot shop in Texas. But as part of our long-term goals and our plan and part of our core values, we wanted to do that right in central Utah, in Salina, so that all of our products that are made and sold across the world, we have that tying story. So the programs like the Fast Track Grant really helped us be able to reduce our upfront equipment costs and to help with our training costs so we can teach those skills that weren't existent in our area.
So Linda, there's no free lunch. And so obviously the state looks at these FAST grant programs and looks for a certain kind of return on it. What is your goal when you give money to a company like Burns? What is it that the state wants to see out of that?
Well, jobs is probably the #1 thing, and capital investment. We want to help the communities grow. We want it to fit in with the community as well. And so he's mentioned the heritage. There's a lot of ranching in these communities, and this is a way to maintain that heritage and still provide manufacturing jobs. It's a great fit for the community that he's in. He said something else that was important too, and he didn't just connect with our office, which was wonderful. When Nan met with him, she said, "You won't believe what I found." So he's been there, and some of us in rural Utah didn't even know he was there because they've been there for so long. But he went to his local economic development director too. We love to have these incentives and help people, but the first point of contact should always be your local community. And so that's why we encourage the businesses to meet with their economic development directors like Natalie or like Malcolm and a number of others, because then it's a bottom up. That's the community helping itself grow, and we just come in to assist.
So Natalie, go ahead.
I think something important to build off of what Linda said too is we look at a lot of the GOED programs as kind of our toolkit and our tool belt as economic development directors. There's a lot of other tools as well and partners that we have. I think Business Resource Center is another grant that comes out of GOED's office that sources a resource center for businesses to help with their development in our communities, as well as SBDC partnerships too. But really the GOED all those tools, Fast Track, whether it's the READY program, whether it's enterprise zones, Linda said there's a whole slew of them. They really help us as economic development directors grow the local businesses and help them. Yeah.
So the question I was going to ask you almost ties into this, and that is that from an economic development director, somebody who's tasked and charged with the responsibility of making this happen at a county level, how important is it do you have businesses that just wait for you to bail them out, or do you need more guys like Burns?
And that's what we're always asking for. Maybe why I'm here right now too is please come and ask your economic development director. We do our best out of our offices to do our outreach to local businesses, but when a business comes to us with questions, that's where we can really make something happen and start to grow.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll come back for our final segment on the county seat, and we're going to kind of go through a little bit of a narrative of how others who, if you've become, your interest has become piqued at this, how you can get involved in that process, and just from different levels. I want advice from you, and from you, and from you, and we'll be right back on the county seat.
In our world, the sun shines on high adventure, and new experiences are yours for the taking. And everything in you looking to play outside the box. Cedar City, it's time to play.
Yeah, we're folks bound by traditions. Whether it's holiday time or vacation time, make sure that one of your traditions is a stop at the Creamery in Beaver, Utah. Delicious cheese direct from the factory, ice cream, tasty treats, crafts, and gifts of all kinds. And it's the perfect place to get a bowl of creamy mac and cheese. Start your new tradition the next time you're headed our way. The Creamery in Beaver, Utah. Farm, meet table.
Exploring is an innate part of being human. What if there was a place on Earth that explores your sense of touch, sound, breath, sight, all year long? So take your time and make it monumental. San Juan County, Utah's Canyon Country, is the place to explore your sense of adventure.
In a place that is beyond words, there is nothing to be said. Except, take your time in Bryce Canyon Country.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking about economic development in rural Utah and the role that the Governor's Office of Economic Development plays in conjunction with local economic development directors. There are a lot of moving parts to getting a county working. You've got to have education, you've got to have infrastructure, you've got to have a workforce. What are the components that will help a county or a community or a business thrive in rural Utah?
Well, Natalie mentioned that earlier. We have other resources like the Small Business Development Centers and the Business Resources Centers, and also local universities and colleges. Those are wonderful resources for training your staff. And some of the more traditional businesses there or industries are tourism and agriculture, and those are seasonal. And so how do we help people that are seasonal have a year-round job? We could maybe push those shoulder seasons and make the tourism season longer, or we can find some other way for them to make money and stay where they love to be, which is in rural Utah. And the first thing that came out with the state was the Rural Online Initiative. We recognized that we have broadband, better broadband in rural Utah, in some instances better than along the Wasatch Front.
Well, anything's better than Holiday where I live.
Okay. And so the Rural Online Initiative was the first step toward leveraging that. And USU Extension was willing to carry that forward. I think we all know Commissioner Bushman had that vision and then shared it with the rest of the state, and USU is implementing that. And so they have been training hundreds of rural people how to be a good employee online. And they're also going to start a program where they train businesses. How are you a good boss of somebody that's halfway across the state? There is a learning curve to that. And then our office last year was given an incentive called the READY program, which gives up to $6,000 per employee if they're high-paying jobs, which in this program is 125% of the average wage. But just when Wasatch Front companies might think they couldn't afford that, the average wage in rural communities is less. And so where you're getting, your Wasatch Front viewers would be able to hire someone in a rural area, and it's a win-win for both the urban employer and the rural job seeker.
So I want to go back to a culture thing and talk a little bit about this, because I think this is an important element, that some of these flexible jobs, these online jobs, allow people to maintain traditional lifestyles. The guy, it's really hard to make it. If you only can raise 50 head of cattle a year, you can't be a full-time rancher, but you still want to ranch. Are these kinds of jobs, do you even see important from your perspective?
Well, so it's definitely important from our perspective because that's clients in our area, that use our product. So the more ranchers or part-time ranchers that are in our area is better for our business as well, because they'll spend some of their disposable income on the products that we make and manufacture. So yeah, we're really connected to the lifestyle, and as the community grows, our business will grow as well. Now, we're also supported by a vast majority of customers that are out of the state, out of the country, that buy our product that's made right there locally.
Okay, I'm going to do this very quickly. What does somebody need to do in your county if you had a one-sentence message to somebody who was thinking about expanding their business? What do they do?
Come and talk to my office. I have a business resource director that helps with outreach for businesses. You can email us. utahscanyonCountry.com is our website. We have a tab right there for economic development. So just initiate a conversation with us.
Even if it's just a kitchen business, there may be an opportunity for
cottage license type business, anything. Just initiate a conversation.
All right, very quickly. Contacts once again to the office. GOED.
GOED Rural Programs at utah.gov, or our webpage is business.utah.gov/rural.
Folks, this has been a great conversation.
Thank you.
It went far too quickly. We are out of time. Thank you for watching The County Seat. We will look for you next week. Make sure to share this on social media to help get the word out. We'll see you next week on The County Seat.